clerk will read out the names. And in the watch. First class.
A very wonderful evening. Thank you for joining us here on Parliament and Governance here on Independent Television. We are in Benin City, Nigeria. I'm Uyi Agumofwegwe. This week on the program, again, we turn our search lamp on the issue of insecurity, which is, of course, a very timely conversation. However, this week we're looking at the issue from the standpoint of the legislature, particularly the Senate. A lot of persons have said, look, on the basis of the 1999 Constitution as amended, the Senate and indeed the National Assembly has so much of latitude and prerogative as to what they can do in circumstances such as this. Of course, in between, there have been speculations about whether or not the president should be impeached, whether or not he can be impeached. Recall that recently, members of the House of Representatives had also invited the president to come bring them up to speed, as it were, as to what exactly the issues are with insecurity and what the government is doing to ensure that these issues are tackled as quickly as possible. However, a couple of days down the line, the Attorney General of the Federation came up to give reasons as to why the president couldn't show up for that interaction. A lot has happened between then and now. However, today, the bulk of our discussion will be on the place of the legislature as far as tackling insecurity is concerned. But just before we put the conversation on the road and you get to meet my guests, let's listen to what a senator said recently.
Today is another day that we come here to lament and discuss the issues of insecurity in the country. Just last 2 weeks, Mr. President, we were in Maiduguri to condole the families of 43 or 67, as the case may be, of families that lost their lives in Zabarmari. On Saturday, again, 37 people lost their life in their camps in Tumur, in Niger, Difa province. Just last week again, 3 of the senatorial districts in Borno were attacked by the insurgents. One is what we are discussing today.
Okay, that was Senator Ali Odume of Borno State there venting, of course, again, on the basis of the challenge we're dealing with as far as insecurity is concerned in Nigeria. My guest on the program today is a brilliant Nigerian. Osamade Nathaniel is a public affairs analyst. Thank you so much for coming on the program. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Uyi. Compliments of the season.
Same here. Good to see you. Been a while.
Yes, thank you.
I want us to begin with a bit of history as to these issues we're dealing with. I mean, you are a proud farmer. You're into agriculture. And we've seen farmers across Nigeria having to tell very unpleasant stories as to their experiences on the farm with very brutal and some persons would say extreme or herdsmen with extreme tendencies. At some point, we thought that's where the whole thing would end. But today, it has become a much broader problem we're dealing with in this country. There are people who have said government is overwhelmed, government is clueless, government is helpless, and so on and so forth. This can't continue to be the situation in Nigeria, can it?
It cannot. It's an intolerable situation. The Nigerians are a tolerant set of persons.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, it has its advantages. It's a good thing to be very, very tolerant. It is a good thing because governance is a very tender institution with very delicate and intricate, parts, which if you rush or you are impatient into rushing a decision, rushing into decision making, you might create a larger conflagration than the one you are trying to quell. So that is why the patience of Nigerians is very good. But to an extent also, if we now say over-patient, I don't think Nigerians are becoming over-patient. But the attitude of government is gradually pushing on to that extreme where we will now begin to say Nigerians have become over-patient regarding the security situation of the country. Now, yes, ab initio, the violence started, in the north. If we want to trace it from historical perspective, might have seen it, religion extremism, religion fundamentalism, radicals taking over, the Islamic religion, stretching it to, various limits. Where we had the Iraq version, we had the Saudi Arabia version, the Shiites and the mainstream Muslim, and within there you had the Ahmadiyya, the Asaruddin. All these are just like you have the Methodist Church, the Anglican, and the Catholic.
Denominations.
Denominations within the Islamic religion. Now, it was like an Islamic thing, a war between Christians and Muslims. The Christians were being attacked. That was how it started ab initio. Even right from the time of Obasanjo, where an extreme preacher from, I think they said Niger or Chad, Matasini came there, and there was serious riot in Kano, where thousands of persons were killed. Now, it graduated from that stage gradually, because the government came out decisively to an extent to deal with the situation. And then, I would say, primary forms of it were the introduction of Islam, Sharia law, by some state governors into administration in a secular state like Nigeria, Zamfara. But because, like Obasanjo said, the real Sharia have always been with us. The real Sharia will stay. Political Sharia will do what? Will die. That died a natural death. Nobody fought it because it was politically motivated. It was not in the interest of the Muslim faithful that the Sharia was brought into there. It was, they wanted to use it as a political instrument. It failed because the people did not embrace it. It failed because it was not practiced in the real sense of it, in the sacrosanct nature in which it was preached by the Holy Quran.
All right.
Gradually, we moved from there to religious violence. Sorry, to political violence. Violence during election in the north. Why the Islamic side of it died down, attack of churches, bombing of churches, riding vehicle loaded with explosive into churches.
Suicide bombing.
Suicide bombing and the rest of them, bombing in public places, bombing at Tigo Square. It gradually shifted to the appearance of the headsmen. Before now, before the last 10 years down, clashes between headsmen and farmer was relatively unknown in this country. Relatively unknown. You hardly hear such things being reported. But gradually we started hearing about an Islamization agenda. When these disturbances from this same north started shifting from the core northeast to the north central region, Benue Plateau. All of a sudden we heard of attacks, multiple attacks, savagery, slaughtering, butchering of people to create fear, make them scamper away from their territory. Before now, the Boko Haram had succeeded in annexing some territories in the north. Remember during the Jonathan era, they were in control of about 40% of the northeast. They had some states under their jurisdiction, local government.
We even saw videos where they had already established their flags.
Yeah, their flags were flying. They already established, they kept that kingdom for themselves before the military intervention. And then there was a lull in the activities. All of a sudden, we saw the full emergence of the Fulani headsmen with deliberate intention to dislodge the farmers from the Benue Plateau Valley, the Benue Plateau Trough, which is a natural lowland, grassland, very good for agriculture. That's why they say, I think Benue is the food basket of the nation. Right. To dislodge them from that place with the intention of making it a central home for the Fulani headsman in the north. And Miyatiala came up. Upon the entreaties, upon the cries, the alarm raised by the governors of Benue Plateau on the activities of these headsmen, it was as if the federal government never knew what was going on. But we saw gory pictures of even children in diapers who were murdered, slaughtered, butchered because of the so-called Islamization agenda. And that was when people began to actually look at it and say, something is actually happening. Before you knew what was happening, the issue of kidnapping in Benue Plateau has spread down to the south, to the southwest, to the south-south, to the southeast. We here, even in Edo, started recording the presence of the Fulani and the boldness with which they come to your farm, graze their cattle on your farm, destroy your crops. Government is aware. When they first showed up, people like Fayoshe, who was the governor of Ekiti State then, had to call out the hunters with a marching order. If you see any cow within the metropolis, kill that cow. He bought double-barrel guns for the hunters, gave them money, mobilized them, and asked them to protect the state from the invasion of these herdsmen. They didn't succeed. With such strong armed tactics, they shifted down to Edo State here. Uyere, Ugboke, Onwa, Sobe, even until, I think a week before Christmas, the Sobe resident and indigenous demonstrated about the activities of the Fulani herdsmen. At the time, the governor had to visit Uyere.
The Edo State governor?
Edo State governor Obaseki had to visit Uyere to commiserate with those who lost, a family who lost their father, the breadwinner, and then those who were attacked. And that was when he made the pronouncement that no grazing should be done in this state within a particular time and a particular time. But I want to tell you that how that law, to what extent, that order, that executive order, to what extent was it obeyed? There was a case where in Ekpoma, the Fulani killed a woman and the husband in a farm. They got hold of some of them. They said a group of army officers came, freed the Fulani herdsmen in a bid to you know, in the course of exchange of fought words between the youths and the soldier. One was shot. The governor visited him at Ochiwo. His leg was amputated. And the governor promised succor for the family. So what we are saying is that it is not just an issue that is behind the front burner. It is the main issue. And the issue of security contemporarily where that make or mar this nation. Because as it were, you found that in the south here, the magnitude of the problem is underreported. It's underreported. I can tell you right now, I have no cassava in my farm. Because for the past 2 years, all the cassava I attempted to plant has been eaten up by cow. And the thing is that they study your movement so much. They know when you are in the farm. They will come between the hours of 6 a.m. and maybe 6 p.m. Immediately you leave the farm, you see them at night. That is bizarre. With their torchlight. I have seen it. I am not telling you what I was told. I experienced it. I saw them. At about 7, they would drive their cattle into your farm and with torchlights, they'll be grazing their cattle.
There's an angle I want us to look at this whole thing from. Every time we talk about security, two things usually would happen. We turn our attention basically to the federal government, which is the central. Yes. And then, more importantly, we're looking at the executive. Lately, people have been saying, hold on a second. I mean, how do we drag the legislature into this conversation? They have a role to play in all this because they say the primary purpose of government is to ensure protection of lives and property. And you can't take the legislature at any level away from that conversation. So how do we beat the legislature into line?
Yes, the legislature has a primary function. That is to make laws, good laws for good governance by government.
Right.
That's the primary aim of the legislature. And to make laws to secure the lives and properties of Nigerians. So when it comes to security, it is one of the very paramount function, oversight function of the legislature. And that is why the legislature will not delay security votes because of its sensitive nature in the protection of lives and property internally of the residents and in citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Also, when it comes to approving budget for the defense of the nation, acquisition of boats, gunboats, acquisition of fighter plane, armored cars, ammunition, and so on and so forth, the legislature does not delay. It is a sensitive item on the exclusive list.
Right.
And so the legislator has the first responsibility to make sure that budget by the executive, which is to perform one of the primary functions of protection of life and property, is what? It's not delayed. And that is why they hardly interfere, and that reduce the budget of the budget on security at the national level. And that is why state governors are getting 700 million to 1 billion every month for security, for the security of their states. And how many of these states, in the real sense of it, are so large to demand that kind of money every 30 days? Every 30 days, a state governor gets that kind of humongous amount of money as budget for security. And it is not tampered with. It is not delayed. It is released as at when due.
On top of all that, is not accounted for.
It is not. Nobody even asks you how you use it. So the legislator, first and foremost, is doing that. Then in performing its oversight function, it ensures that this budget is properly administered. There has to be accountability. Because the Minister for Defense will be called to the National Assembly to defend its budget. It has presented the various subheadings. And then the most time the legislator does not interfere because of the sensitive nature of budget. So they allow it to go, except where maybe there is a reason to quarrel the budget. If particular item reoccurs, the quantity of this, why are you asking for this again? Now, when it comes to the other aspect of the legislator coming into security, just like the National Assembly has done, in the Nigerian situation as it were, even the man who has no responsibility, the ordinary citizen knows that he is not protected. There is a feeling of insecurity. Those of us who travel by this Benin Epoma Road, we pray till we get to Benin City, and we pray until we get back. Because you can be picked up at any time like a chicken. They just come to the road, shoot, they stop your vehicle, they harvest human beings like animals. 24, 25, lead them inside the bush.
Some of the legislators, especially those at the federal level, now say that they are even afraid to go to their constituencies.
It is true.
Is that how bad it is?
I am telling you that traveling from Benin to Ekpoma is a nightmare. You invited me twice, and I told you, I said, because of the security nature of that road, I will not risk traveling. I was supposed to be here on Saturday before Christmas. My very bosom friend's son was married. I had promised that I was going to come. That was when on a daily basis they were kidnapping people. And my wife now said, for God's sake, you don't have to.
You have to be alive to attend the wedding.
To attend the wedding, so please. I took that decision. I said, I will not go. I called my friend and said, please, try to understand what is going on. It is as bad as that. It is as bad as that. And if you hear the harrowing experience of those who have been released from the kidnappers, then you will not pray to be in that position. So for the legislator, they have a right to now ask questions, especially with the deteriorating security situation in the nation. People are being killed every time. People are being kidnapped. Just on Sunday morning, as I was preparing to go to church, I don't know if the man has been released. I learned that the current president, Kaduna, has been kidnapped with the wife. Kidnapped on Saturday. The other day, what do you call them? Islamic fundamentalists captured one of the Khan heads in Borno and beheaded him. The video was everywhere. So it is so bad. If a senator can tell you that he feels he cannot go to his own constituency, his own senatorial district, a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, then who is now safe?
Okay, we're going to find a way to answer that question, but that will be right after this break. Stay with me.
Let me tell you, Mr. President, God will ask you. Wallahi. So, Mr. President, God will ask all of us, but you will be in the front. I will say, I've told the Senate President. Maybe that will help me. But that's not a joke. Wallahi, we need to. Enough is enough of this. Enough is enough of us coming here to stand and talk. Even the one I'm saying now, when it will not matter. But it can. This is not the end. The Constitution is clear. It did not limit what we can do. The limit, we have not reached the limit. Let us consider it and see if we have to go further. And you must lead. Because that is what you swore to do. To protect the lives of Nigerians is number one.
I want to draw your attention to something. The video we played at the top of the program had Senator Ali Ndume say so much about the security situation in the country. In fact, at the point he says to the Senate President that God will ask all of them. However, according to him, the Senate President will have to be in front when God comes asking questions as to what the Senate has done so far about the insecurity in this country. And then he goes ahead, very importantly, to say that the Senate's leadership has not exhausted all of its options. What inference can we draw from that?
Well, it is a very strong signal to the President. Very strong signal to the President. Because these are members of his own political party. I have my affinity for the APC. But it does not, first and foremost, I'm a Nigerian. It has nothing, security has nothing to do with party affiliation. If my father is chief security officer and is not doing well, I will tell him that you are not doing well. So my security matters much to me. I love to see my neighbors. I love to see my friends.
Right.
It doesn't matter the political divide they belong to. Life is precious. And life is more enjoyable when other lives are involved. So, if the president, if the Ndume could tell the Senate president that he showed they've not exhausted every available opportunities to address the security situation, it is a strong message to the president. This is the president that resisted every call by all well-meaning Nigerians, including former heads of state, that for God's sake he should change the service heads. But the presidency is adamant, has refused to listen to the yearnings, to the cause of Nigerians, especially in the face of escalating violence, either kidnapping, either banditry, either Boko Haram, whatever you call it, in every part of the country. Look at what we just experienced in Benin City. You see, this thing has snowballed. It has come down to the state. Before Christmas, if I'm not mistaken, up to 30 young men were murdered in cold blood in Benin City. Was it Boko Haram that murdered them? Was it a sergeant that murdered them? Was it bandits that murdered them? The security situation had degenerated to such a level that Nigerian people now take life willingly without any fear of punitive measures, without any fear of punishment. Broad daylight. Shoot somebody without fear of the police, as if we are in a lawless society, as if there is no government in the state. I'm just talking about Edo State. Look at this rate at which people were killed. Broad daylight, people robbed inside New Benin markets. In broad daylight. So
that also puts responsibility at the doorsteps of the state houses of assembly.
Yes, the legislator concerned.
Right.
Now, I'm just trying to let you know how bad it has gotten to. While we are looking at Abuja, right, looking at the northeast.
They say every security is local.
Every security is local. Look at how bad it is in our own Benin City. Look at how bad it is. So the legislature has actually told the president, you have refused to remove the service chief. Come and tell us why this security situation has not been changed. What are your problems? What are the difficulties? Mr. President, from the statement made by Bajabia Miller, was ready. He gave the assurance that he will come. But Malami threw spanners in the ways. That as the president, he is not accountable. And that is where I disagree with Malami. The president is being paid with the taxpayers' money. The first allegiance the president owes is to the citizens of this country. The citizens of this country. The citizens of this country are the president's paymaster. And if their representative speaking, the representatives are speaking the voices of the people. And if it goes to the National Assembly to explain what has been going on, answer questions, it will give Nigerians a broader understanding of probably the issues involved or the difficulties the man is a country in doing this. But he has refused. And I'll just say, I will say it again. I've said it before. Pronouncement by the judiciary, contemporary pronouncement by the judiciary, or representatives of the judiciary. We're not talking about frivolous court injunctions that have no meaning, no bearing, but granted just to store time and pervert and prevent justice from taking place. Such pronouncement will ruin this country. I'm sure it was that announcement of statement credited to Malami that made Mr. President not to visit the National Assembly. And that is wrong. But Mr. President should know that the National Assembly represents Nigerians. And if he goes through the media, if he read newspaper, he will see the cry of Nigerians. We are all dissatisfied with the security situation. So the legislator has a right to call the president as oversight function to account At least for the budget, if we are not, okay, let's not talk about the budget. Why are we still having this situation? Various grammar has been used, downgraded, technically defeated. It is now hit and run. There is no more cohesion. And yet, this violence escalates. More people are killed on a daily basis. Kaduna to Abuja, you can no longer travel by that road. Maiduguri to Kaduna, you can no longer travel by that road. And then you are talking about the killing in states like Niger, Zamfara, in communities, local communities, interior communities, where villagers are sacked overnight.
Even in the president's own state,
Even in the president's own state, when the president visited his own state. That is to tell you, that was a challenging action. That was very daring. It was a direct slap on the president's face. That in his presence, when he was around in his own state, the state was raided and people were killed. Remember, I think his in-law was at the time kidnapped and was released. You would have expected that these insults on the presence of the president will move the president to make definitive statement, will come out with definite policies. How do you continue to retain service chiefs over 5 years, continuously have not been able to bring their experience to bear in reducing the state of insecurity in the nation, and you continue to retain them, and in the process of retaining them, you are breaking the service records, and that in itself is going to create some dissatisfaction within the army. A man who is supposed to take over as army chief 5 years ago, how do you expect him to feel? In the next 5 years, he's due for retirement. You retire him when he never had the opportunity to become army chief of staff, naval chief of staff, air chief of staff. You think those people are going to be happy? That in itself will create some insecurity within the country. And then the National Assembly also has to make laws. Uyi, transborder bandits have been established to be perpetrating some of these crimes. What stopped the National Assembly for passing a law that we know there is this ECOWAS trade agreement, free movement without passport. But at least whoever is coming to Nigeria as a foreigner must have an identity number given to him from his state of origin, whether from Togo, from Ghana, from Niger, from Chad. It will make it compulsory. The National Assembly should pass such a law that anybody who does not have that number cannot enter Nigeria. Or anybody who does not have that security code or security clearance cannot enter. And wherever he is found, he should be arrested and deported.
As quickly as possible.
As quickly as possible.
In other words, to make sense of all that, it means that entry into Nigeria through the land borders from our neighboring countries would have to be regulated. Of course, you need the National Assembly to help do that.
Exactly, to promulgate such a law.
I'm telling you, I'm afraid that this is the much time we allow us to do on this program, but it's obvious that Nathaniel Samede is loaded for this kind of discussion. I mean, for a man who has also had his own fair share of this very concerning and disturbing issue of insecurity in Nigeria, I mean, there's always so much to talk about. Again, it's a long drawn-out discussion, so we're going to continue to have this conversation from time to time, because take it or leave it, people have to be alive to do anything else. So security is one issue that no right-thinking person in this country would want to gamble with or play politics with. Thank you so much for coming to talk to us on this program. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
This is what we're leaving it today, at least for this week. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Uyi Agumofwegbe. Our coverage on ITV continues. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Fatma.